Hey, Bookish friends. It's been quite the couple of weeks, and yeah, I've been sick for like a week now, so I'll see if I can get through this without coughing. But I do have my February wrap up. I read 10 books, I think. I finished 10 books, something like that. I have my cheat sheet to help me because my brain is a little hazy right now. Okay, and it wasn't that great of a reading month either. I had a hard time picking a favorite book. It was definitely not Dare, The New Way to End Anxiety and Stop Panic Attacks by Barry McDonough. I don't know how to say his name. A friend of mine at church said that this book helped her, so I got a copy thinking it would help me, and maybe it would, but this book just doesn't seem written for someone like me. It seems written more for someone who constantly deals with anxiety versus mine's just kind of a rare thing that pops up when my routine gets really pushed out of its normal thing. Anyway, I read a lot of it, and then I just started skimming through to finish it, but I am counting it as finished and not DNFing it. I did read Wolf Soldier by James R. Hannibal. This is the first book in the Light Raider Academy, and I really did enjoy this book. I want to get the rest of the series in order for my kids to read it when they're a bit older. It's a little bit rare to have a fantasy series with a male main character, I think, at least from what I typically read for fantasy. And we have, it's been a while, Connor. His grandfather was a famous light raider. They were disbanded or something like that. And then a few of them decide to reopen the academy, and they ask Connor to be one of the new recruits. And he doesn't want to do it at first, but things happen. And obviously he ends up becoming one because he's in this book and probably in the other two. And I liked how their armor, they actually had to be like relying on God, and I think maybe praying or something like that. Prayer plays a part in how they fight and how their armor works, because it's magical armor. Really liked it. I might not do these books justice because it's now been at least a week since I read any of them. But yeah, I did really like this one. I do plan on continuing the series. I did finish A Cup of Trouble by Angela Ruth Strong. My husband asked, is that a romance book? By looking at the cover, and I'm like, no, it's a mystery. And it is a mystery, but I felt like the mystery actually wasn't as big of a part of the book as it should have been for a mystery. It did focus on a lot of relationship drama, and I got annoyed after a while because it seemed like it was a lot of similar things happening again and again. And if I remember correctly, I kind of figured out who did it pretty early on. So I don't know if I'll continue this series or not. It was book 2 in a series. I did finally finish the last chapter, Seasons of a Mother's Heart by Sally Clarkson. Did really enjoy this book, especially the ending chapter was very good for me. I really liked at the end here. She said, as a homeschooling mom, it is my duty to endure with my children through fractions and algebra, spelling mistakes, tears of frustration, bad attitudes, and many other battles to be fought along the way. Whenever they come, though, I'll just bring to mind Sweet Nathan's freckly 8-year-old face smiling up at me, saying, "I love reading, Mom." And with his hero, Colonel Travis, I'll say in my heart, no surrender. Really good. I'll probably be reading that at some point. And I did pull random number TBR card, Magic by Angie Sage. This is the first book in the Septimus Heap series. And I got to mark a tome off. Yay! My friend sent me this for Christmas. She said she's really enjoyed the first 4 books. There are 7. Fitting, because the main character's name is Septimus. Septimus Heap is the 7th son of a 7th son, but he dies on the day he's born, or pronounced dead by the midwife. The same night, the baby's father, Silas Heap, comes across an abandoned child in the snow, a newborn girl with violet eyes. So, I did have a good time with this book. I do plan on continuing the series. Not that I needed any more series. I liked how each of the chapter illustrations, here's one, deal with one of the characters who's in the story. And yeah, it took a while to actually figure out what the plot for that one was, so not much I can say without giving spoilers. And I want to see if... okay. I do have 3 Kindle books to update on. The first one was Crown of Beauty and Anarchy by Aurora Bell. This was the pick for Chantel Reads All Day's Indie Book Club, and I did read it, and I was kind of bored. It was a Snow White retelling with, it was Empress Matilda elements, who was a real person, obviously from the 12th century. But our Snow White character, it just seemed like she was making the same mistakes over and over again. And I know that's true to the fairy tale, but when you're doing a retelling, you don't have to follow it exactly. And I didn't see why everybody liked her so much and why they were willing to fight for her, besides that Matilda was so awful. So, yeah. I did read another one of my Scottish Bakehouse Mysteries books. This one's Reign of Terrier, and I drew this one for illustrated cover, and I guess who done it on this one too, but it was cozy, and it's supposed to be not that hard to figure out. I always love the cover illustrations for these books, and we just had a great time. This is like the one book in the series that has a kissing scene in it. So sorry, Chateau, I sent this one to you, and it had that scene in it, but there's no romance taking over the book, so there is that. And I had a really good time with this one. We have our Big House 3, who, well, it's mostly Molly, wants to help figure out what happened to the bookstore owner. And I was so sad because he dies very early in the book, and I wanted there to be a bookstore to be another setting for this series, but sadly that was not to be. I'm going to talk about another one of the ebooks I read, which was Pugs and Kisses by Shatona Havig. This was a reread for me, but we have our character, whose name I'm completely blanking on. Anyway, she's one of those very list-oriented people. She puts something on her to-do list, she has to check it. Well, maybe not has to check it off, but it's like her top 3 she has to check off. And she's very compulsive as far as needing to finish her lists. And she discovers her 30 things to do by 30 lists that she did in, I think, high school, and she's done all except for 5 of them, and the last 5 were things that her teacher told her she had to push herself out of her comfort zone to do. And so she ends up getting help from a friend of hers to cross off the last 5 items, and there's a diva pug in it named Rolf, and he's funny. And we read the book for Rolf. No, well, one of the reasons that we read it is for Rolf. It's very high maintenance pug. It's just funny because my mom's pug is not that way. But it was a cute story. I'm glad I reread it. Well, and the last physical book that I finished for the month for my nonfiction was You Who, Why You Matter and How to Deal with It by Rachel Yankovich. I think this will be a good one for my daughters to read when they're teens, but it seems like a lot of the times the things she was saying were either just common sense or she was saying them in an almost aggressive way. But it is good for you to be confident in your identity in Christ. I got a little bit out of it. Like I said, I'll definitely be having my daughters read it when they're teenagers. And so then the last book that I actually finished in February was Bookers on the Rocks by Shtona Havig. You sensing a theme. And this was one of her Independence Islands books. We have... I'm blanking on names. I know Russ is the husband's name. Tessa. I think it's Tessa. She's very anti-romance, doesn't want it in her books at all. And so Mallory, the bookstore owner, she thinks everybody should write a book. And she's like, well, Tessa, why don't you write a book about... just write a book that you want to read. And Tessa does start writing, but she doesn't want to tell her husband about it. She never really says why. I think maybe she's just afraid he'll make fun of her, or she just wants to keep it private. And misunderstandings ensue. And it's one of those that really made me think and contemplate. And I think I ended up marking it down for my favorite book for the month. Yes, let's backtrack. Oh, I ended up reading A Cup of Trouble for the Read Your Bookshelf challenge because it was 3 more objects on the cover, and there's a key and a teacup and a couple other things on there. The Jurassic Reading Challenge prompt was Triceratops, part of a trilogy. Wolf Soldiers, the first book in a trilogy. I ended up starting 2 series that I do plan on continuing. And yeah, I think I only gave Seasons of a Mother's Heart and Pugs and Kisses 5 stars. Other ones were close, but ended up being really difficult to pick a favorite. I did end up picking Bookers on the Rocks just because I don't pick a reread for my favorite book bracket. I've completed 5 books off my 26 books to read in 2026 list, but I am currently reading another one, so that'll keep me on track. And actually, I have 2 other ones on my March TBR. And yeah, I was able to mark off a tome, and here's what my book bingo looks like. I did manage to finish my February TBR, but only because I ended up reading one of them in January, and the other one I finished in March. So it's not looking great for my March TBR right now, but that's okay. Sometimes you just gotta put those on hold and read a comforting book when you're sick. And I have time to catch up later this month. I've got one more week to push through with homeschooling, and then we're going to be off for a week. So hopefully I can get some good reading done during that time. Let me know what your favorite book of February was. I'll hold up my small stack because 3 books that I finished were Kindle books. So yeah, let me know if there's something you think I should read. Until next time, happy reading.